As you look through history, there are many great achievements that you could point to in terms of stretching technology of the time and of the moment. Got all the wonders of the world that we know of in history, both in ancient history and modern history. I think the ISS is the greatest human endeavor ever in the history of the world in terms of complexity and the challenges that are brought with that complexity.
When I was up on the International Space Station, initially I lived with another American and a Russian, and then that transitioned to me living with two Russians. And so the whole dynamic of being up there changed. For example, the language changed. Initially we spoke primarily in English, and then it changed into primarily Russian. We also talked about our culture. Every evening we would get together, have dinner together, and we would discuss different words in our specific languages because they might have some idiosyncrasies of where they came from in the origins. And it's very fun to explore each other's culture that way. And that's a very unique setting up on the International Space Station where we get people from all over the world living and working together and actually relaxing and recreating and discussing their cultures together.
Even now on American holidays, my mom was very surprised on Christmas. My BlackBerry rang 4 times, and not one of those times was from one of my American friends. They were all from my Russian friends who don't celebrate Christmas at the same time we do. So it tells me that not only did we do a great job preparing the International Space Station for its flight, but we also were able, in the process, to establish long-lasting friendships and personal relationships.
One of the things that strikes me about our partnerships in the international arena with the International Space Station is that we had the Columbia shuttle accident, and it was horrible. It really ripped our hearts out. Yet we were still able to continue flying in space, to continue working with the International Space Station. Our partners rose to the occasion, in this case the Russians, and they made it happen. And we started sending people, crews like our crew, regularly from Baikonur Cosmodrome instead of on the space shuttle. And their integrity and their approach to true partnership has really touched me and has really made an impression on me of what human beings should be doing, working together.
Biggest shock, I would say, the biggest impact that I had during my flight is the first time I looked out the window of the orbiter and saw the space station. It was huge. It was huge and shiny and beautiful. And I knew, you see a lot of image about the Earth, the stars, and you kind of have an idea what it would look like. And it's beautiful, but I was shocked when I saw the space station, looking at it and knowing that a man-made structure that big is actually up there.
Ну вот скажу вам впечатление, которое я увидел, сам почувствовал.
When I spoke to regular people as the ISS passed over Moscow, their impression was tremendous.
Видимости из Москвы. Впечатление было колоссальное.
They were looking at the dark sky, seeing this large object, and they were stunned by the fact that the human intellect has created such a huge object that is visible to the naked eye from the surface of Earth.
Сложный и большой объект, который невооруженным взглядом можно наблюдать с поверхности Земли.
When we first started our rendezvous procedures and getting ready to dock with the International Space Station, we were pretty far off, and you see this little blip in the sky. And as we get closer and closer and closer, you see this magnificent machine that's breathing, that's working, that's, housing my friends and our colleagues. And then when you finally dock to the station, and you go through the hatch and you get invited over to dinner by Commander Whitson, who says, "You guys bring the vegetables, we'll have the meat." And you get over there in the service module, and you're sitting there having a meal with Russians, Germans, French, American, African American, Asian American, this whole melting pot of people working together for the common good of our civilization. And so when I went through the hatch and I had this, we had this meal with Peggy, it felt like I was at home. I mean, Dan's floating on the ceiling, I'm sitting at the table, Peggy's opening cans of Russian meat and saying, hey, try this one, and if you like it, we'll give you a whole can. Hot sauce floating around. It was just remarkable. Space Smorgasbord.
I think the more glorious part of space travel is the launch, and so everybody thinks about space travel during a shuttle launch or a Soyuz launch. But the International Space Station is a little bit more unique because people are actually living and working up in space 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And what that means is that there's a myriad of people on the ground all over the world making sure that every aspect of that spacecraft is working correctly and the crew on board is healthy and safe.
This is very important because when we fly in space, where it's not just us by ourselves, it's our whole family behind us, it's all of our friends behind us, it's our colleagues. We're all working together on something wonderful, and as an astronaut, we're just the point of the spear, the tip of the iceberg of everyone behind us. And the more we can be in touch with the people that are supporting us, the better job that we can do.
When Peggy sent me a picture of the node Harmony, and when I looked at that, I saw the node installed in space, but then I quickly flashed back below the debris panels and saw the ammonia lines, and I remember sitting there with the ammonia technicians as we're trying to torque down the fittings on the ammonia lines to get them so they wouldn't leak. And it was a real challenge for them to get the right torque settings and to get them in the right configuration, and they worked with such craftsmanship and such skill to get that exactly right. It's amazing. So when I see the node, I think of the hardware, but then I think of the technicians with their hands on the wrench figuring out exactly the right way to get the fitting set in place.
The instructors who prepared us, the flight controller team who worked 24/7, even while we were asleep, they prepared the procedures. They made sure they knew the malfunctions in and out, and if something happened, they're on top of it right away. So that's basically why this mission went smoothly.
24/7, around the clock, there are people around the world working, looking out after us aboard the International Space Station and looking out after the space station itself. And as we go around the planet, we fly over everybody and we just look down and say, wow, thanks for working with us. Thanks for coming in so we can do our job aboard the space station. Thank you.